So, hailing all the way from the Toronto area, we have No Disco on the show today. No Disco's song tell a cinematic tale of varying degrees of love. He is a bundle of 90s nostalgia incorporating from a variety of genres. Each song keeps you on your toes, and you truly never know what you're going to get. He's been on the scene since about 2019, but has been making a permanent residence in many people's minds. He is the artist behind my second and third top songs of 2020 on Spotify, and will likely keep that title in 2021. He is so talented, and I'm so excited to be able to pick his brain and learn more about the project and also the mixtape. Who knew I'd write songs about you? Welcome to the show, Chris.
What an amazing intro. And how nice to see such an old friend now.
I know that I feel like we've known each other for a while. For
We're
those
kind
of
of
you who
old
don't
friends.
know, what's that?
We're kind of old friends now.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Sydney could be here. Well, I mean, to kind of start off, I like to tell people how I found them because that kind of says what's working because I'm, the stereotypical fan.
Yeah.
And Sydney found you through Valley because she had just seen them, and then I think either your song was playing before the show or they posted. I don't remember the exact scenario, and Sydney sent here's a good song. She sends it to me, and then kind of everything explodes because we both listen to the song over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, that was honestly a very perfect storm how it came out when they were on the band Camino tour because that was kind of like very much in my head that like, well, they're on tour. I made this song with Mike, so like obviously he's going to kind of share it and this will go into like how I feel about shows and how we've lost them, but like, people were going every night and they were actively seeing Valley, going to their Instagram. Oh, they're sharing a story. So it was very easy to get everyone to, listen to the song. That has all changed with the loss of shows that I could go on forever about. But anyway, that's that, and that's amazing that that happened. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I could talk about for hours about how much I love your music and how much your aesthetic is. We'll get into it.
Um,
But I kind of want to start off with some easy questions for you. What is your plug-in song? When you get in the car and you plug in your phone, what is the first song that plays?
Recently, um, Come Back Down by Lifehouse, I think. My favorite song as a kid was You and Me by that band. And as I've just been kind of trying to like broaden my horizons and listen to a lot more, I've been listening to a lot of post grunge recently. And there's just so many songs on that album that are like just as good as You and Me. So Come Back Down is the first song on that album, and it's really, really good. So that's recently what I've been plugging in.
So, kind of like you said that Lifehouse was the You and Me is one of the favorite songs, or your first like favorite song was.
Like it was when I had my iPad that was like or iPad, sorry, iPod that was like glued to me as a kid. The parents are like, oh yeah, you can buy like an album or you can buy like a song per week or something. And first, I don't know why. Maybe I heard it on the radio or something. But yeah, that was just like I just remember constantly just listening to that as a kid. Um, and yeah, it just kind of is this song with like a really great verse that has a great theme and then a chorus that's just like huge and just huge chorus. I love that. So for me, it's just like a very well written song, and it's just kind of resonated with me for a long time.
So, did your parents have a huge influence on your music taste growing up? Because I know for me, my dad was very much into like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and my mom was very much into the Motown type stuff.
Mhm.
So I attribute like everything I listen to because of the kind of shit show that we listen to in the house. What
Mhm.
about like how did your growing up affect your music taste?
So, my mom, so both my parents didn't fit like the typical dad or mom rock thing. Like, no offense to Father Crump here, but like, that is very like, that's what's considered dad rock, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if there's mom rock, but I guess my mom, like, so my mom's favorite band was the Carpenters. Um,
Hmm.
that I also, to this day, like more so when I got older, even as a kid, I kind of listened to them, but as I got older, really started to listen to them, and they're incredible. So that was like my mom's taste in music, and then my dad, he was always like, I don't care for that 70s stuff. He was very 80s all the time. But particularly kind of shamelessly into the pop stuff. Like he's like, yeah, I like Madonna, big deal, you know. Like meanwhile, some other guys would be like, yeah, I don't listen to Madonna. Yeah, I like Floyd. Like he was very shamelessly about what he liked, and then I think that that's kind of carried on to me too. Like I very shamelessly like Backstreet Boys and whatever boy band New Edition is another huge influence of mine. But anyway, so I think took that from my dad, where it's just like, yeah, I just like what I like, and I was never ashamed or like afraid that like people didn't think it was cool. Like I almost find it like thrilling to be like, no, 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 I'll tell you why Backstreet Boys is good. Okay, just sit there and let me just tell you. This is masterful work here.
Hmm.
But anyway, that was kind of my situation growing up.
How was the music scene? Are you from like dead Toronto, like dead in Toronto, or are you kind of like in a suburb?
Yeah, Toronto is dead. That is the we're locked down again right now. So that's that. But yes, I am from Toronto, Toronto. And so wait, hold on. What was the question? Like, what was the scene
Yeah, I
like?
started to ask about the music scene, and then I was
Yeah,
clarifying where you were
yeah,
from.
yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of derailed that. But yeah. So I honestly, I never really knew too much about it because I wasn't in it. Like I wasn't in bands before this. I didn't have a solo project that then didn't work, and then I just started this. Like this was it. This was everything. This was the thing that started it. So I never really knew anyone in music or like seriously in music. Like I knew people that like habitually played who, you know, we're just casually like, yeah, yeah, I'll jam, but they weren't like, oh, I'm gonna be in a band now. And okay, you're in a band. Okay, but we're gonna be in a band that like tours the US and does like that was always the only way that I thought of doing music. It could never be like, yeah, I'll play the bar over there. Like it always had to be the big picture thing.
Hmm.
But I didn't know anyone. So it kind of, I've said it before, but it kind of just was I just kind of put my head down. I was like, I got to find someone. And I tried and tried and tried, never worked. And then a roommate of mine at the time, and still a good friend of mine, Zach, was from Oakville, which is like a little city town outside of Toronto that Valley's from. So then he was like, "Oh, you should link with them. I know the dude Mike in the band, and maybe he could like mix one of your songs, and then you could connect." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So then we connected, and then from there we just kind of became friends. And it's just so weird to me that like there is. Don't get me wrong, there is music coming out of Toronto 100%, but like I tried very hard and I just didn't find it. And then as soon as I went to Oakville, Burlington, which are like two little, places outside of Toronto. That's where everyone is. That's where Millen, my main, creative partner is from. My band is all from there. The Valley dudes are from there. I don't know if you know the band Baby Girl, but everyone is just from like outside Toronto. But you always have to say you're from Toronto because
Right.
that's what you that's what you do. But like
Hmm.
I'm actually from Toronto. Everyone else kind of isn't. You kind of have to play the thing. Like my drummer's British, so like I'm like, oh yeah, no, Disco's a British band, of course. Like he,
Yeah,
he has a
it plays the game.
he has an accent, so I can say that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
anyway,
we'll change it. It's not from Toronto. It's a British band. It's fine.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my relationship with Toronto. But then, as soon as I put out Thoughts in Your Car, very immediately all of my audience was American. Like I have some
Really?
listenership in Canada, but like it's mainly like been propelled by how well Thoughts from Your Car is done in Discover Weekly. But it's just American. Like it's very, very American, my listenership, and my team has just become American too. My manager now, um, a ton of people that I'm working with, all in America. So that's why I'm coming there in June.
What?
Well, not to play shows. Let's not go
Oh, I
that.
was like, oh,
It's
you
not.
can't drop this on me.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, if that was announced, I would be jumping out my window right now. It's not that big of a drop, but I would be that excited. But no, no, no. I'm just coming down to like meet people
Oh,
and like
sick.
write with people and finally getting out of here. This is a pretty nice country, but like I'm very excited about the States. I've always loved the concept of America, but just never thought it would happen. But I kept persistent. Blah 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 blah. Here we are. Things are
So,
coming. So
can I pick your brain about your your coming of age story, I guess? Like, so kind of thinking about childhood and then somewhere along the lines you picked up music. Like you went to college, correct? And then was that did you
yes.
study music or was that kind of like I'm going to study business and then just be like I'm just going to do music? How did that all kind of come together?
So I went to university because that was just what you do. Like everyone's just like, oh, well, you have to go to university. I was like, why? And they're just like, oh, well, you have to do that. And I was like, what? Like everyone, like especially the high school I went to a pretty preppy high school, and everyone just like went to like the best university in Canada and stuff. And I was like, well, I have to go to some sort of university. So then I went and, I got my degree and whatever. But the whole time I was just looking for band members and just like was working on music, like constantly just like building everything to get to the point that I knew it could like be a thing. And that's why I kind of like took my time and very particularly released things at a specific time because I just wanted to be like, when this starts, everything is together. Like I've taken down one song so far, "Love You Early," but other
Did
than
you?
that, yeah. Other than that, everything is just this is it. Like there isn't like an EP and then like
I'm
because that's
hurt.
kind of
I'm
like
just saying
how.
I'm very hurt by that.
No,
But
no, I'm
like,
sorry. It's a good live song. I think I might keep it as a live song, but I just don't love it as a song. Anyway, I digress. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everything was good to go and it just started. And because I know about momentum, and funny enough, the momentum kind of got derailed by a certain thing that came around and messed up the whole world. Yeah, I just took my time and made sure that like everything was together and before I started
e-
it.
everything fits together. And I am a big proponent of visuals, and I know that it's about the music, but as somebody who spent their whole life worrying about media and photography and like all of these things, and I've been trained to look at those things, I always look for it. So when you started releasing music videos, and first of all, the vertical video, I am obsessed with because so people are slowly doing it like because of Spotify. But
Mhm.
I literally saw it. I watched it like 30 times and I sent it to my like nerdy film friends because I was
Yeah.
like, we're going to have a discussion about this. Like how it was, I think I
Uh,
reached out to you about how it was shot, if you shot it vertically or horizontally. Um, and we had a whole like, like dissertation essentially about
God, bunch
the
of
video because we were
cinephiles
so
meeting up.
just infatuated with it as a
Oh my
visual
God.
medium. And I like everything you do has like it's obviously an incredible song, all of them are, and then you have an incredible visual to go along with them, whether it's the album art or the music video or whatever you're putting. It all goes so well together and it all kind of lives in its own world from what I understand. And you can like obviously talk more about how you're like kind of curating it all to fit if you want.
Yeah, like for me, see, because in talking to other people too, there are like two arguments here. Like for me, it was like, okay, so I'm gonna do all these things very particularly from the beginning, whether it's the visuals, this, that, and I'm gonna have this conceptual record and this and that's really cool, right? Like if someone did that, like if an artist that I liked or just found did that, I would be like, oh my God, this is so cool, and I would like ride or die for it. But there is something to be said about like when you don't have the audience yet, there isn't enough people to like take in that work, if you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
like one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is like songs have been streaming well. Like I can't complain. Like this has been like a very good like beginning to a career. But there is part of me that was like, was it too soon to be too conceptual and like, could that have waited? Because like first of all, it couldn't have because it's very like um autobiographical. Like that's literally like what just happened to me. So like, there is that. But I don't know. Like I kind of feel like for me right now, Thoughts in Your Car is doing well, but you kind of need like one song to do really well and to like have people behind you before you drop like a project with like that much like meaning, I guess. Because I think I've always battled with like just doing art because it feels good, but then also doing art to like make a living off of it and like make a comfortable living off of it, which is like what I want to do. So like part of me is like write like a really accessible song that then gets people to look at your like that like serious like insanely put together project. But the other half of me is like, well, just do what's like totally real to you. So like it's very hard to like navigate it. But yeah, with all that said, like I'm never gonna sacrifice that. Like it's always like the art before anything else, and like it's consistently built, which is good. Like I haven't like lost people along the way, but like one of the things you have to start thinking about as an artist is like um, as much as like the cool visual stuff and whatever I can make, and as tight as my Instagram looks, like I still need to grow it. Like one of the things that I'm stressing with my team right now is like, okay, my visuals are cool, but are my socials growing at all? Like, how am I going to get people to look at how cool this project is? If shows were happening, I wouldn't have that issue, but they're not. So it's either like become e-boy or fall into obscurity or just like kind of stay with like no growth. And that's been a huge stressor for me because I wanted shows to be the main source of growth and my social media to be complementary to that. But now it's like, that's all you got. You better be an e-boy. And it's like I guess, but like,
Or
I
go
don't
pierce my
know.
ears and, go get a new wardrobe.
Yeah, like, although my wardrobe's already spectacular, like, I don't know if I need to do that. No,
Okay.
but you know what I mean? Like, it's just been a very stressful year because, like, even right now, I'm like, okay, do we do another music video or like, do I just start like TikToking a bunch to get everyone to like look at what I've done already,
Yeah.
right?
It's really
So,
interesting you bring that stuff up because the band I talked to yesterday, and as I release this episode, I think their episode's after you, so I'm not going to say their name. Um, they are like popping off on Reddit live streams, and they have this like whole like setup that somebody switches, and they have like three different iPhone cameras, and they have like I never knew that Reddit was a thing to like, blast your music out on because I don't use Reddit for that way. I look at like weird theories and like, completely unrelated stuff to that. And the
yeah,
fact that that is another medium to look out for because obviously TikTok is a huge one right now and, bands are getting hundreds of thousand followers just off of, we're going to make this song today and like the growth from that alone is insane, but just in general music discovery right now is such a weird game because all of the things you said and without touring and all that stuff it's like as a fan of music like I don't know where to look anymore because if I go to TikTok it's like 90% of the stuff like isn't my jam, the other 10% is my jam, but it's like is it just for TikTok? And then if you go to their music and it's just not consistent, it's really confusing.
that's like so many of the conversations I'm having too, right? Is like, especially in this age, everyone can upload music, like literally everyone. So like for me, what I did was I was like, okay, I understand that. So like if I create an insane live show and I do all that like groundwork, I'm not just a kid that like uploads a song, goes viral, a record label goes, "Oh, look, the song's popping. Okay, here, let's give you a record deal." And then you're like, "Whoa, a record deal?" And then they just own a song and then you have no growth, you have no sustainable career. So for me, it was like, okay, make a good live show. Music is live. Like, I don't care what anyone says. It's like literally the most important thing to music is shows. So like do that, and then that's like how you're going to be a sustainable career act rather than just like, oh cool, I had a cool song and it kind of popped. So like I've been having these mental battles with myself being like, okay, we'll just like start it and just stop thinking about it, just like start doing that kind of thing. But I don't know, like it just I just it's like someone like broke my heart, and like I just can't get over it. And that's like my relationship with like with shows. Like every God, I could just talk about it forever. It just sounds stupid, but like we busted our asses, and I know how good it is, and I know what it will do to my career and what it could have done. So it just feels like I'm like constantly like waiting for that thing. But like you got to just go with the time. Like you don't want to be like the old timer who's like, oh, this business is still good. Yeah, we'll sell paper till the day we die. It's like no one's using paper. So like I don't know, but that's the thing with me too is I'm very particular with like what I liked, and like I love physical art. I love physical mediums of everything. I could go on and on about how the loss of Blockbuster is like one of the most tragic things to ever fucking happen. Sorry, I swore.
No, please
But
do. It's fine.
okay, but it's just like I don't know. Like I think I have to continue to be that guy. Like I guess I'm just like the old timer. I don't know. Like the times are changing, and I'm just like, oh, remember shows? And people are like, no, we're not doing shows. Why don't you just go on TikTok and just make some stupid video, and your career is made. But that's the thing is everyone can just be famous now. No, let's go back to the old days where like very specific people were famous, or like back in the old days where like you had to be really really good in order to get in that like really expensive room to create a record. Now it's just like everyone's doing it, but it's just working. You can't reverse the time.
Yeah.
So I'm just the old man going like this, and like, what's the point? So I don't know. I kind of got all philosophical and stuff, but
No, 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 no. It was fine. And honestly, like you covered other the questions that I was probably gonna ask you anyway. But so a lot of it, again, visual medium. Behind you is Rolling Stones, correct? That's the thing is you've covered all of this part of your room in Rolling Stones, old Rolling Stones.
yeah, like I just loved like before I even got started with no disco, like we have these stores here in Toronto called BMV, and they're really cool. Like they have like a lot of like old stuff, whether it's books or magazines or DVDs or records or whatever. So when I went, like I noticed that they had just like copies of Rolling Stone magazines, and when I was in uni, like one of the careers that I was considering was advertising, and what I always loved was print advertising. Like I just it's just I don't know, like I just love like how much like effort it took. Like it wasn't like now advertising where it's like, hey, you paying attention? This like it was just beautiful, and it had to be visually appealing, and you just held it and you're like, wow, this is beautiful. And it wasn't like people like punching at your screen being like, hey, you have to buy what I'm selling. It was just like, look at this wonderful thing we're selling. You know what I mean? Like it was way
Yeah,
like
there's no more class in an ad than in like cigarette advertising from like the 50s. Like those ads are
oh my God.
simply incredible.
I have like Marlboro stuff all over my wall, and it's gorgeous. It's like I don't even know where that is, but it's just the most gorgeous mountains, lovely type. I love the typography, and it's just this gorgeous photo. And you're like, I want to smoke a cigarette now. But hey, look, like that's what it's a
Exactly.
skill. They got everyone to smoke by those, and they had the guys with the cowboy hats and stuff.
A
Um,
manly man, yeah.
yeah, the manly man. So like, I don't know. Like, yeah, so these are all like just ads, and I did this like half so I bought them and I used them as just like reference points for artwork or type or whatever. And then when we were making the permanent residence video, not only was I actually going crazy, like there was a period between um maybe November to like February where I'm like, oh, I've actually lost my mind. Like I was just like sitting around. I'm like, oh, like I'm actually crazy. Like all this time spent either like in hypochondria because that came back. I thought I had beaten that. Like when leading up to shows, I was like, oh, I don't care about anything. I'm healthy. Blah, blah, blah. And then you give me all the time in the world to think about things, and that's what you get. So that, and then paired with like, so then I just kind of was like, not only would that be cool to do with my room, but like it was for the video. And then I also have the backdrop in front of me from the music video too, the like the white paper stuff. So yeah, I think having my room actually, like I actually started to go a little bit wacko, but I think I've kind of come back, especially Canada because it's very dark. You lose that vitamin D, you start thinking too much, but I'm starting to feel a little better now. The
It's the
sun's come
seasonal
from.
depression.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's real. I don't know what people,
Yeah.
I wonder how people in the UK are. It can't be any good.
Unwell. Completely
Yeah.
unwell. I don't want to get into this whole mental health topic because, it'll be a downward spiral. I lived in Florida for 4 years and I was
Oh,
like, hell yeah, this is nice, sunny all the time. And then I moved home in December 2019 and I moved back in with my parents. I was like, I'm going to move out in a few months and, all this stuff's happening. And then all of a sudden COVID hit. My brother, who I was going to move out with, got furloughed. And I was like, I am not going anywhere. So here we are, still in my childhood bedroom. And,
it's
thank
funny.
God the weather's getting better, though. That's all I could think about.
Yeah, but like funny enough, this is my childhood bedroom. There's no way, like I'm gonna do music and like have to pay rent every month. Like, nah, it's expensive. So I've been very lucky that my parents have been very supportive and have allowed me to really like focus on this and because it is very much a full-time job in terms of like especially in like how I'm trying to operate it like it's a lot of work and it's all worth it because it's all coming together and once things open up we're going to be very ready but yeah it's a lot of work and it's just constantly a stress and especially with the whole project coming out next month um, it's just a lot of stuff to plan out so yeah.
Well, you're killing it. You sent me the songs early, and I can't thank you enough for sending them. They're so good. Everything you do, I think this time you put out a song I don't like, I will be in the wrong, to be honest, because everything you've done has just been so incredible, and I love it, and I send it to everybody, and I
Oh,
play it every time someone's in the car. And
oh,
admittedly, I'm gonna put myself out there with this. If somebody asks me for a song request on a dating app, I do send "Thoughts from Your Car." So because it's almost at a million, I'm gonna credit at least like a good chunk because I send it like every time. I'm like, oh, listen to the song, free stream, listen to the song.
and then the dudes are like or the ladies are like we love this song.
Some guy was like, "Hey, like, why did you pick this one?" And I was like, "Because the drums, the guitars." And I'm sorry if anybody doesn't like that, like they're just not listening right.
He's kind of an old friend of mine actually.
Yeah, we go way back.
And then they go to my Instagram, they're like 1,300 followers, and they're like, oh, okay, he's not even famous. Never
Some
mind, I'm
guy
not.
actually knew who you were, and I was like, "Whoa,
Oh,
that's a
really?
first." So
Oh,
you're getting somewhere.
nice.
So I want to talk about first of all, I can't say this enough how much I'm gonna say it like 300 more times. I love your stuff. And my personal favorite, not to pick favorites, but I do have a favorite, is Moonlight. And you picked Moonlight for the last song of this
Right.
mixtape. And that is important to me for no reason. But I'm curious if there's an importance to that.
Well, it's just kind of the end, right? The end of it all. It's it's the it's the amalgamation of all the things I realized was wrong, the other party realized was wrong, and there was this kind of confrontation, and I guess Moonlight is kind of that confrontation. I don't know how like literal like reading a note in my bedroom was with like the moonlight perfectly shown on it and like there's a camera crew and I'm like I'm reading this breakup letter like I don't know if it happened like that but it kind of just stands for this moment where it's like I'm trying to do this. Well, I'm trying to do this. I don't know if you know, I can do that. And then I'm all heartbroken, like, well, damn, like, you know, I'm not totally ready to end this, but like, yeah, if you don't like, or not don't like, but like you can't see yourself with someone that's doing what I'm doing or whatever, I guess we got to end it. So I kind of got confronted with this like ultimatum, and then, you know, I guess like when it kind of orchestrally explodes at the end, and I'm going, what did you think I would do? You know, there was kind of like this confrontation about like, well, I don't know if I can do this, da 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 da, and I got very hurt. So it was this kind of argument that led to the subsequent demise of it all. But you know, that's life, and I chose I chose to do what I'm doing for a very good reason, and this is it. So made a record at least.
So does she know
Pardon me?
does she know about this?
Oh, I'm sure.
How does she have you talked to her since? I'm sorry, him or her?
Yeah, me and her have talked a little bit. You know, nothing. I like to, I'm a very communicative person. I like to like pat myself on the back for that, and this person was too. So, you know, like at the end of the day, like it's not. I never want to have this like relationship with an ex person and be like, oh, you piece of shit. Like I hate you. Like because I hear that all the time, and I'm like, no, it's like a good person. It's just like we just our lives don't line up, and that's what kind of got like all existential for me. Like after that ended, and I had some time to like process and like think about, you know, whatever my romantic life looks like going forward. It's like, yeah, like I don't, what does that look like if I'm going to be traveling here and there and touring, and I want to tour, like I want to be on the road for like the majority of the year type thing. I'm still a young man. What am I, 24, turning 25 tomorrow actually.
No way. Wait. Happy birthday. Whoa. I should have brought a cake.
I know, and maybe it could be
I'm
passed through the
hurt.
screen. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe you have the technology, but yeah. So like, that's what I kind of realized. Like, damn. Well, you could have like a great connection with someone, and like one little thing is off, and it just doesn't work. So I don't know. Especially in this time, like one of the things that kind of drove me crazy is I'm like, what does a romantic life for me even look like going forward? Like, because a lot of my friends are in relationships and stuff, and I'm just like, so am I just that guy now? Like I'm the single guy. Like I'm not that great at that. Like I'm not just like, whoa, well I'm talking to this girl. Like I don't know. Like I'm like the softie who's like, how you doing? And then they're like, stop being so nice. I'm not that good at that stuff. I realized. I'm always like I think I come on too strong or something. Like I'm like very nice out the gate, like when I'm like trying to like talk to a new girl, and then they're like, you're too nice, and I'm like, what? I kind of wrote a song about that recently. It's so weird how there are all these games to dating, and with this person there wasn't that, and that was very refreshing. It was very
Hmm.
like I like you, you like me. Let's talk and hang out. But other than that person, I've just had the worst track record ever. Like it just always dies. You start talking, and then especially during COVID, gets bored. Person gets bored. You don't communicate what you want early enough. Da da da. Like there's like a million things that can go wrong. So recently, I'm just like, oh my god, do I just focus on music? I almost think that there's someone like controlling me. And one of the things is I was convinced that like I was living the Truman Show for a bit because of
Hmm.
like COVID stuff. I was like, oh, this is all a big joke, right? Where are the cameras, guys, huh?
Like, come on,
And
guys.
then it's been like a year and they still aren't there. And I'm like, guys, and they're not showing up. So I don't know. I'm just focusing on music, you know, the romantic stuff. Maybe it'll work one day, but right now, no disco. It's
No
very
disco is the prime time, and
that's the love.
yeah. So going kind of more a little bit into that, each song has a different tale, a different, you know, theme in it, to romance, to this and that. The song. So you said it was summer. What I because on the song you sent me it said I can't live without you. What is the name that will be heard after this podcast?
Okay, so that song was demoed with Mickey from Valley and Milano, like literally a year and a half ago. Like we had it, and then it was like it was always going to be like the second last song, but literally until like yesterday, this song had a very inappropriate name as a demo that was like circulating, and people would just like call it by that inappropriate name, which I'm not going to say. And and for the longest time, I was like, but then recently it's been like, okay, we have to send it to this industry person and this industry person. I'm like, well, I can't send it with that name. So I don't know why I've had such a hard time naming that song, but I have. I think particularly because I like to have like very like nuanced names to songs, and usually it comes in the chorus. But in this song, the chorus doesn't really say anything that not interesting, but like there isn't like an interesting phrase or word in it. So I had the hardest time. And then recently I've been reading this book called the only one, the only story, by some British author named Julian Barnes. I know his name. But I was reading like one of the paragraphs, and there was something called like he said like the sweet summer, and then I was like, it wasn't a sweet summer, but it was the second summer we were together. That this because because this song second summer is that conversation previous to Moonlight. It's like it's very like it's very like it's very much a story. Like it starts and it's just like, I never know what I'm doing. Would you come with me to Los Angeles? And Los Angeles is just like it's become such a cliche, but I kind of use it in a general sense of like, would you like come and travel with me to do music, or would you be okay with that? So yeah, that's kind of that conversation before Moonlight in My Bedroom, and obviously it didn't go very well. But yeah, it's called Second Summer because it was the second summer we had together, and I just thought that was a cool name, and it kind of rolls off the tongue. So
That
I
shit
thought,
slaps.
really, see,
Period. Like that's the sentence that so POV, I'm sitting right in the same spot yesterday when you sent it,
right.
and I press play. I like I was like up and I was like just jamming. I was like, this is so fun. And I've been like slowly like getting into more of like 90s music just because I love that sound. And like the second I pressed play, I was like, oh, I need to get out of my chair. Like we need to stand up and listen to this song because that's like the vibe. And it might take my favorite spot in front of Moonlight, but we need to listen to some more. But I definitely think it's going to be one of my top songs on Spotify this year once we get there.
I hope so. Yeah, it's for me, I was just like, I don't know. I think this it's a really cool song, and it's gonna be. It is very cool live. Like it's insane live. Like especially that bridge where it just goes to the drums, and then like I'm like hit that snare, bang, and live it's just like the coolest thing. But I just never like thought of it as like a standalone song. But I don't. Everyone I show it to is like, "Yo, this is it," and I'm like, "Okay." Like I don't know. I've realized that I don't know. Like when Love You Early didn't perform that well, but then again, like who was I? So like there's
Yeah, who are you? I don't even know.
no, but I mean like I don't have a label, I don't have anything, so I'm literally just banking on like having a right playlist, having like a fluke, like when you don't have that infrastructure, it is very much like you don't know what's going to happen. Things have started to build ever since then, and I definitely have way better of an infrastructure now. But until you have a label like guaranteeing things, it's like kind of a shot in the dark. But, with Love You Early, I thought that that was going to be the song. I was just like, that's going to be it. And then it wasn't. And then Permanent Residence, I was so sure was going to be the biggest no disco song. And it's just not doing well at all. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything, clearly. So with this song, yeah, if it's good, people seem to like it. I don't know. Maybe it will do well. I'm going to try very hard. And like every time I put out a song, I'm going to try very hard to make sure it does well. But that's what's weird about these times. And like you don't know unless you have like the backing for it. But the other thing that I say to people too is like the other way that songs have like a second life and get propelled is from shows. Because let's say like Permanent Residence isn't a single, but you come and see me live and I play it live and I'm playing it live like 30 days in a row to different people everywhere. Even if it wasn't a song that came up on New Music Friday, they heard it live, they're going home, they're like, holy shit, I heard that live, let me go bump that. But now, like, especially because that's why I'm not doing the full length album thing either. And that's why I'm not, unfortunately, I didn't know if even you would be kind of disappointed, but that's why I'm only doing like 2 songs for the full thing, is because I'm also giving this to people as an listening experience, which is always what I've always championed and loved, is like sitting down and being like, this is now like a new way to listen to all these songs. But it's also because I don't want to just like have songs go up and they don't get the life that they need. Like, especially in this no-show world, Spotify kind of works to just like promote one song when you're putting out a project.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to put like 5 songs out and then I only get to promote or have one go to like pitching for playlists and then the rest of them don't get the love they deserve because I'm not touring and I just don't have like the fans yet to digest the whole piece of work. Is that you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that answers my question. I was literally going to ask you. I was like, "You've played last time we made out on live streams. I need like I've been
Oh,
waiting on it, and it's not in there, but I will wait longer." um,
yeah.
but
So
okay,
sorry. Yeah, just to kind of speak on that more. Like, yeah, there's so many songs that are kind of sitting in the vault, but once this is over, we're gonna like demo a bunch of them, and one of them is gonna be Last Time We Made Out. I still need to finalize who the female is gonna be, but yeah, it's just like I don't think I would be as concerned if the world were operating the way that it usually does, but especially now, like I think I'm working on getting on a better cycle of releasing single songs. Like if it is going to be single songs, I think I need to be a little quicker with it. But yeah, like with no touring, like there isn't like even a way of kind of notifying people of these songs because people are just so passive in how they listen now anyway.
right.
So I don't know. It's been very hard. It's like I'm just clinging to all these old timey things when like the world's a changing. No, you got to move on, Chris. You got to move on from this lady friend, and you
You
got to
gotta
move
get
on.
pushed by a cane because you're, a little boomer
Yeah,
over here.
yeah. I'm a boomer. Like, come on. I'm damn near 50 already.
50 years old and get off my
Hey,
lawn.
hey, I started this damn quarantine at 23 and I'm turning 25 tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah,
Quick,
I think about that a lot.
because I also always kind of had this like um I was like, oh, I have to start by a certain age because then you get old and then no one cares because you're old and I was always just like I manifested that. I manifested way too many things that I shouldn't have, and that's honestly one of them. Like still in my, I'm just hitting my mid 20s now. Like it's okay. But yeah, I I very self-righteously gave myself that name, the king of overthinking and fond. It's true. This is a man who thinks a little bit too much. So recently I think I've started to break away from that. I'm a little less thinky.
Hey, teach me those ways, because like I need help with. Let me know
Oh,
your tips and tricks.
so it's this thing called booze, right?
Okay.
No, I'm
Okay.
joking.
I mean, like, let me just turn around.
No, it
You don't see
helps.
the three white claws I have over here. No, I'm kidding.
White Claw. I had one of those last night, actually.
Aren't they just like just now getting Canada? Isn't that a thing? Like they weren't in Canada before?
No, they've been here since like last summer, but I think they give it to us in like even bigger cans. Like you guys have like the tall slimmies, and then
Mm-hmm.
I think Canadians are kind of like the British, like we kind of like drink more, I think. I don't know. But like we have like a big can of it. So I don't know. It was good. It was good. I
Good.
watched a
I'm
good
glad
movie
you've had
last
that
night.
experience now.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good night last night.
So I want
Pretty
to talk
busy.
about touring, and we've already touched on it a ton, but kind of more in a specific optimist sense. Where do you want to go, and who do you want to be with?
Where where do I want to go? Who do I want to be with? I want to
Hmm.
go everywhere.
Okay.
And who do I want to be with, like in terms of tour? I don't know. Like it would be very nice to be with friends. Like I don't it's I think a lot of touring too like helps with like relationships with the artists. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm hoping to like really expand on this summer. So like a given is like Valley, like they're friends of mine, and we all like, my drummer has been like best friends with like Alex, the bassist, since they were kids. So like it would be a very easy way to tour because like we're all friends and stuff. But like big picture, like I don't know, like there's so many, and at this point, like I just want to play shows. Like it really doesn't matter. I remember like I did like a Instagram like ask me anything or something the other day, and someone's like dream venue to play at, and I'm just like literally any venue.
Anywhere.
Let me play your backyard. Let me play your grandmother's house.
The
Let's
Crump backyard is open all summer. There's a pool. Let me know. I'll
okay.
rent out a
Fucking-
stage.
Okay, we don't even need a stage.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Screw the stage. We
Okay.
don't need it. We'll
It's
just
open. I'll send the Addy. We'll get it popping.
good. Can't wait.
I love concert venues and I love to experience new ones. So I would love to see you at 9:30 Club here in DC. It's kind of an iconic one here.
The tab.
And it's the acoustics and there's just a lot of history to it. So if you're booking DC, first of all, I'd be hurt if you weren't, but I understand. I understand the constraint. 9:30, you should. It's kind
When's
of.
it?
I think it's like a 4,500 cap,
Oh my God.
but we can make it happen. Listen,
Bro.
listen.
Okay. Fall, couple more songs, some TikTok and some e-boy stuff. We'll be there.
Okay,
There's
yeah,
no doubt in my mind.
not mine either. Mine either. That's why I'm saying it.
Oh, shows.
Let's see, what else do I have on the plate? Oh, you talk a lot about. I did a lot of reading of interviews that you've already done to kind of make sure I had my stuff straight.
Yes.
Max Martin is somebody you talk about a lot.
Yes.
And I found a downward spiral of looking into stuff he's done because, so Sydney and I love Jack Antonoff, everything he's done, and we kind of did a self-exploration of producers we listened to personally, and
Yeah.
they all were connected. All of the pop punk stuff I listened to was connected. Everything was connected in some way, shape, or form. So when I looked into Max Martin, I was like, "There's no fucking way! Like this guy has done everything."
Yes.
So if you want to talk about, why you kind of favor his stuff, and then other producers you kind of aspire and look up to.
Yeah, the thing, okay, the thing about Max Martin is like he's just a scientist. Like I kind of like so when I was younger, the way that I wrote was very like matter of record. Like I would literally like there wasn't much structure. I would just be like, this is how I feel, and da 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 da. There was rhyming, but there wasn't a lot of structure. So I would play songs for like my brother, for example, who was the biggest critic of mine for the longest time, and he still likes to go like, "Hey, what about the?" You know, everyone has their opinions, right? But anyway, so he'd be like, "Chris, that's not like, it's not very pop," and I was like, "What? What do you mean? I love pop music. Like I'm writing a pop song. What are you talking about?" He's like, "I don't know." So then I was like, "Who are you, man? Like, what the hell are you talking about?" So then I just kind of got on this like it's not like I was trying to spite my brother, but I was like, well hold on, well let me make sure I get on that. So I kind of just went into this deep dive of so I also grew up on Backstreet Boys. Like if people are like, "Oh, who'd you grow up on?" I didn't grow up on Joni Mitchell and stuff. Like I grew up on Backstreet Boys. I often kind of think that people kind of like front about what they actually grew up on. It's like, "Oh, Joni Mitchell." It's like, I don't know if you were listening to her when you were 9,
Yeah.
but maybe you were. But I was listening to Backstreet Boys. And there's definitely a nostalgia factor, but when I went back and listened to it, I was like, whole larger than life. This song that begins this album Millennium, which I have a shirt and the vinyl of, is so good. Like if any band put this out, it would be dope. Like there's a huge guitar solo that just slaps. The chorus is dope. Everything just hits. There's this huge bridge, and I was like, and this is where like that kind of mentality I kind of alluded to before comes in. It's like everyone's saying this is bad. Like I remember when I was a kid, everyone's like, "This is stupid. Backstreet Boys is dumb. Da, 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 it's for girls." I'm like, "Are you listening to the same thing I'm listening to?" So as an adult, I was just like, okay, so whether it's another a couple people I really admire are Julian Bunetta and John Ryan, who did all the One Direction stuff. Like these are dudes like me making great music, but they understand how the industry works. Unfortunately, in many ways, the industry works in like have a pretty boy, have a pretty girl, have a group of pretty boys, have a group of pretty girls, get some really great songs, and have them be the face of these records that then, touch millions. Not physically, but, more, a different, more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just in the air. So, and it goes into your soul.
It
So,
does. It truly does. I have What Makes You Beautiful ingrained in my soul, so.
hey, One Direction has better songs than that. Let's be
Oh,
clear.
I know, but listen, I could talk about that for hours. You do not want to
Oh,
get
I
me
could too.
started on that.
Oh, I could too. But anyway, so as an adult, and especially as I'm finding myself as an artist and a songwriter and within this business or whatever, I'm like, these are just great musicians that are just making songs and they put them out through these artists. I don't know. I kind of forget what the question was.
I kind of do too, but I enjoy this conversation a
Yeah,
lot.
sorry. I just like I could
No,
just go
it's
on forever about this stuff, but yeah, it's just I just love about Max Martin. Yeah,
yes.
I just love the craft of songwriting, and there's something to say whether or not like it's made for little girls or this or that. It's like, hey, little girls love it, and maybe it's because the boys are just cute, and you could argue that they're not actually that good, and it's really just the faces driving all the sales and whatever. But like, I don't know. I'm a 25-year-old guy, and I'm listening to it, and I'm not just going like, "Oh, Harry." Like,
I mean,
no.
you can. That's okay. Like,
Well, I don't know. I never bought into the hype that much, to be honest.
oh,
Well, that's just me.
oh. I'm just gonna
Like,
pull my Up All Night vinyl out and prove my hype.
no, I'm gonna pull a vinyl out. You know this record?
I just was gonna tell you because you talk about Fall Out Boy or not the Backstreet Boys as a kid. Fall Out Boy was I got into Fall Out Boy when I was in third grade, and
Okay.
that was weird. Nobody understood it. They were like, "Why is this like High School Musical like?" Wearing all this stuff. Why is she walking into Spencer's and buying like an old, like brown, like rusty, like Fall Out Boy messenger bag? But that's the shit I was into in like third grade, which like nobody understood. But meanwhile, I'm like listening to From Under a Cork Tree, like what the fuck is my ear? Like my ears are going crazy. So
Yeah,
it's funny you
but
pull that record.
yeah, again, like how I kind of have been on about like I don't from a lot of like interviews, especially like people that are like late 90s to like early 2000s, like just you listen to Fall Out Boy and stuff, just like say it. So like I grew up on Fall Out Boy. Like that record was the first album I ever bought on iTunes. I remember, like literally the first album I ever bought, and just amazing. Like, but again, they kind of got this like, their image and that, and it's like, well, just go listen to that. Like, it's really good. The melodies, the the lyrics are cool, a little like about nothing or like just very like hard to understand, but like, yeah, I just love that album. The main other one that I really like grew up on was Infinity on High, but that's what I grew up on. Like, oof, I love that stuff. I would love that's one of my like goals is to like collab with Fall Out Boy sometime. Patrick Stump, me and him on a vocal. Let's go.
My
We need the voice.
I loved his solo
Soul
album, and that's a hot take.
Punk.
What's that?
Soul Punk.
Yeah, and people, first of all, there's a song named Allie, and there's never songs named Allie
Oh
everywhere,
yeah,
so I was very excited
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
But I loved it, and it got like so much flack because I was like, oh, like what's he doing? Like this, and I was like, what the fuck? This shit is
See, that's
good.
what stresses me out.
Yeah,
Is like, when can I be at a point where I can drop a permanent residence and people are like, "This is cool." Like what affected like a Patrick Stump is like his whole audience was Fall Out Boy, and then he didn't win over the press either. Like the press was still like, "Oh, Fall Out Boy isn't cool." They're like for teens. So then when you put out that more exploratory, like well influenced, like well produced record, people like no one thinks it's cool. Like you have to convince people that something's cool, and that's something that I don't think of like a Patrick Stump was always like super aware of or like trying to do. But like it's what I'm like. It's hard to like navigate this whole thing. Like it's work and like thinking of all the intricacies of it all. Like even I'm thinking like, okay, we're in this realm now, but like in order for me to put out like more permanent residence type shit, and then like a lot of my new stuff is very like early John Mayer and like more acoustic, like Dave Matthews Band,
heck
like
yeah.
um like raw stuff. You have the fans and stuff, but now I almost have to convince like the high press to be like, oh, this no disco thing that's going on is cool. This industry, it's in order for it to, for you to succeed, you kind of need to just give people what they want in the moment, and maybe once you've proven yourself, then you can get a little, crazy. My whole thing is I don't know why I talk like a record exec, but like it's because I'm way too infatuated about like my career, like so I have to think like this, you know. I talk to people and they're like, "Why you talk so like business?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I just like have researched this whole industry my whole life, so I'm just trying to make this work. Like this is
Right.
why I'm talking like this." Anyway, oh my gosh.
This whole philosophy is very interesting, and I like really appreciate you opening up about it because not a lot of people talk about that like struggle personally with like having to do like what this person wants and what you want and the art and all of this stuff. So like this conversation alone has been like very eye opening for me, and then also just like in general, like I think for other people listening. Do you want to play a quick game called Quick Picks?
Of course I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a very specific scenario. I've already picked out songs because number one, I'll overthink it and take 10 minutes, but also to give you extra time to think about yours.
Okay.
So the first one is if you're walking through a grocery store in the dead of summer and you're buying popsicles. Personally, I chose Semi-Charming Kind of Life by Third Eye Blind because that's very much the do of me buying a popsicle.
Doot, doot, doot.
Yeah.
So as soon as you mentioned grocery store, it reminded me again of my iPod back in the day, and I have weirdly vivid memories of listening to Sum 41 was a Canadian band. So their album Chuck, back in the day, God, just me and going to the grocery store with my mom as a kid, in that album, like nothing better, nothing better. That album's pretty hardcore, but it's great.
Okay. Do you have a specific song or just the entire album at the grocery store?
Um, Slipping away, some say. What's We're all to blame.
Okay, okay.
All of us believe that this is not up to you. Yeah, it's great. Oh.
I saw them live one time and that was fucking nuts. I mean, it was older times. It was probably like 4 years ago, but it was still nuts. They're
Yeah,
crazy.
they have smashes, and like so much of. Sorry, I don't want to like derail too much here, but so many of like the pop punk bands, like Sum 41, Simple Plan, like those are all Canadian bands. So like that's what was on the radio, and that's crazy to me that that was radio music at some point. What the fuck? Like Sum 41 on the radio, or like Simple Plan was on the radio a lot. Even Fall Out Boy, like Sugar We're Going Down was a radio song. Wow,
I
that
think
is.
we're moving slowly back towards that, but
That's weird how that's coming back. And one of the songs, like the song that's going to propel the next era, which I won't say too much about, but has those influences in it.
incredible.
So
Incredible.
anyway.
So this one is a kind of funny one. You're on the way home from a date with the person in the car and it went terribly. What are you playing on the aux? I chose Hot Girl by Meg Thee Stallion to remind myself that if it went bad, there'll be another.
There will be another one to show no disco to,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
So did this date go bad
Yeah.
because the person like yelled at me and they're like, "Oh, I hate you, you're a piece of shit," or was it just kind of like, "Oh, we didn't connect"? Like,
Um, for entertainment value, it was an argument. It was yelling.
and she gave me a note. The
Yeah, she
note
gave you a
that she
note. You
The
read
note
it.
that you gave me through the moonlight in my bedroom.
Yeah.
No, okay, but she gave me a note. So she was, we had an argument. Okay, so then if that's the case, what would I listen to? Oh, how about I Don't Care by Fall Out Boy? I don't
There
know
we
why I'm
go.
on a pop punk thing.
There.
Well, don't care what you think as long as.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, that's a
yeah.
good one too. So the last final one, for my explanation award in general, for you, your first Grammy, you're celebrating on the ride home. There's limousine, it's popping. What are you playing?
Oh,
I chose Trophies by Drake.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think I would go with Time to Party by Craig David. On Friday,
Oh
time
yeah,
to
yeah,
tell me, are you in there? Are you in there? Anyway,
yeah.
uh,
Solid.
I love Craig David, and that album's amazing. Born to Do It. Oh, man, that man's vocals, like crazy. But yeah, I think that like there would be way bigger of a playlist than that, but
Oh
like
yeah, but
that
the
would
just playing it.
be on. Yeah.
So I have a question from Sydney.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna play the video, and I'm hoping that it doesn't just explode very quickly. And I'm hoping that you don't see my entire screen because that could be embarrassing. Um,
Uh-oh.
my desktop is a mess. So let's see if this works. Okay. Um, perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna play it real quick, and let me know if you can't
Oh
hear
my
it.
God, fire shirt immediately.
Hey Chris, it's Sydney. Sorry I couldn't join in on the fun with you and Allie today. I will sadly be at work when you guys are doing the interview. Allie did ask me to send in a question or two if I had one, and of course I do. So I know you pulled a lot of inspiration in the music you've already released from that kind of 90s, early 2000s era pop and R&B. And right now I'm obsessed with samples, like songs that sample older songs that sample even older songs. And I was wondering if you had any interest in the music that you work on in the future in kind of dabbling in samples to kind of really add to that nostalgia factor of the music you put out. Thanks.
Um, yeah, like I've kind of like flirted the idea around with Millen, like because I'm such like an avid listener of like older stuff, and particularly like I'm obsessed over like finding the most obscure stuff that like was underappreciated and being like, what? How is this not a hit? Or how did this record not have more of like a cultural impact? So there are a few of those actually, but yeah. So there's definitely a couple albums that and songs that I'm thinking of, like, because I think that would be cool, especially in the pop sense of things. Like, I know it's been so historically hip hop, so like to try to do that in a pop song would be cool. But to my knowledge, you need actual, maybe that's for interpolation. I think it's for interpolation, which is a little different. But yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. And who else? Hi, Sydney.
So, thank you already for taking as much time as we did. I'm sorry for taking up your afternoon. I have one final question. It's kind of a larger question. Musicians have the ability and platforms to kind of leave a mark on the world. Is there any way or any specific thing you would like to specifically leave a mark on, whether smaller or bigger?
Um, I think for me, like the reason why I'm doing music is to give people like the feeling that music had always given me. And I think that's particularly why I took it so to heart with shows, is because one of the feelings that I always loved, but I was trying to chase for giving to other people, was like I would go to shows, and when it was a good show, I was just like, oh my God, what is this? This is like the best thing ever. Who are these people? Who are these, like it was like an experience, and it like brought me to I like the idea of coming into this space and just like feeling like this otherworldly thing was happening on stage. Like I like the idea of these people being like above. I don't know how to explain it. Like I think it's just a very cool feeling that I always like. Like it's like these people are just like in the show and the music and everything is just like it was just such a like full experience for me that I was like I need to give people that same feeling and like that, but to the like the highest quality too, and that's why it's like always like affected every single little part of the no disco thing, is because like I knew how like attentive I was to like every detail. So like not only with the artwork and the records or whatever, but with the live show, like my drummer is an incredible talent, as well as my guitarist. Um, but with my drummer, he is an incredible like music director. So we're very closely working together to like make it this whole experience from the beginning. Like even like one of the things that we always talk about is like even if you're an opening band, if you're capable of putting on like the biggest show, don't hold back on like all those tiny little details, like putting you know like having an incredible intro and interludes and just a beautiful like cohesive like professional show. Like that has been, everything has always just needed to be that put together, because I want everyone to like feel the passion that's in it. And like even like the CDs that I'm making for this project, like they're very like detailed, and every little thing about them has been thought about. And when I do vinyl, I am the biggest vinyl dude around. So like I don't want to give people like a product that like doesn't live up to my standards, because I'm picky about like how good, if it's a gatefold, how good the left sleeve is. Like for example, the Bon Iver record is a very good example of a well-crafted vinyl where it's a gatefold, but that motherfucking left side is hard cardboard. It's not some flimsy little thing that it looks like a piece of shit and whatever. Like everything is going to be dialed in, and that's because I care about that. And whether or not someone cares, like like even if the consumer is like, consumer, not consumer, the fan or whoever buys my art, who's kind enough, goes like, is like, oh, I don't care like what the hell the vinyl is made of. Maybe they don't, but then there's someone like me out there that's like, he did that, because that's what matters, right? It all matters. Like every little thing, every little small detail that you put into something. It's oftentimes like you think like, oh, someone's not going to catch it, but like I've always known that I catch it. So like I got to be careful, and I'm always like, oh, can't miss one little thing, because then that one person that kind of consumes like me is going to be like, hey, this isn't cool enough. You didn't do it well enough. And then I have this internal breakdown and I start crying and I enter this room again for months and then there's more stuff on the
It's
wall
the
and
entire room at that
it's
point.
my entire room and my hair's down to here and it just becomes that. We don't want that. So that's why we dial everything in. That's what we say. Me and or Chris Borges, my wonderful videographer and photographer. It's dialed in.
Wow.
So that's that.
Well, thank you so much for all of your time. Hopefully, this was an all access pass to someone's new favorite artist. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Allie, you are an incredible interviewer, and this is a great platform. And I'm excited for you. And I'm excited to meet you and Sydney in the future. And then you'll see this thing that I'm talking about, right?